I mentioned earlier, it's no surprise what we're seeing. I have seen those images, but these are also similar accounts to what were coming out at the outset of the ground invasion, where we had accounts from Gazans and journalists and even footage coming from both the IDF that were boasting about these acts on things like Telegram, where it was, making circulars around Israeli society that were quite literally cheering and supporting and circulating these images, as well as regular Gazans and journalists that are on the ground and being subject to equal amounts of torture. In the West Bank also, from the outset, since the 7th of October, we've had something like, from then until now, 4,500 Palestinians arrested from across the West Bank, claiming that they have been subject to similar acts of torture, including those that we saw released during the prisoner exchange, where detainees are claiming that they have been taken to camps, that they are being taken to undisclosed locations, blindfolded, subject to beatings, sexual harassment, in some cases rape. We're hearing that they're being starved. In the case of Gaza, we're also hearing that detainees are even being taken outside of Gaza into places, again, undisclosed locations in southern Israel, which is against international law.
Do you expect there to be any sort of accountability once the fighting is over, bearing in mind Israel is not a member of the International Criminal Court?
I think given the international reaction that we've seen so far, or lack of reaction, as much as I want to be optimistic, I think it's very difficult to be. These aren't the first accusations of Israel violating the rules of law. This is not the first accusation of Israel doing precisely this to those that it detains. It has a history of doing this since the outset of this conflict. You're talking about decades, spanning decades. And we've seen very, very little accountability being put on Israel. Israel knows that it can get away with complete impunity, which is why you have them quite literally circulating their own crimes on social media, being bold enough to do that, because it knows that it has the backing of, the world's most powerful countries. We've seen complete silence from both its Western allies and Arab regimes, beyond a few statements of condemnation here and there, but very little action to actually pressure Israel, despite the mountains of evidence we've seen that Israel has now long exceeded the criteria for committing genocide in Gaza. And where we're seeing things get worse and worse, we're seeing very little pressure being put on Israel to even conform. I mean, the US is unwilling to even, until now, put red lines on Israel. If anything, it's now endorsed the shipment of something like 10,000 tons of military equipment to Israel just recently. So it's very unlikely. Even the ICC prosecutor we saw visited Israel a couple of weeks ago, but he was very reluctant to go to the West Bank, and when he did, he only gave Palestinians an hour. Imagine an hour to talk about some of the crimes that have been committed against them. It was absolutely outrageous. So no, if anything, this has proven that Palestinians have absolutely no recourse to justice. And I think that is what is ultimately frustrating Palestinians on the ground today, is that all of this is very much evident for the world to see. This isn't just Palestinians coming out with statements. It's there. There is video footage there. And the world is still turning a blind eye to this.